Welcome to the Texas Oil and Gas Podcast, the show dedicated to bringing you the news from the oil patch deep in the heart of Texas, with your host, Ryan Ray and Josh Shelton.
And we're back with the Texas Oil and Gas Podcast. We appreciate you tuning in to today's episode. This is episode 218. 218. I'm your host, Josh Shelton, friend and co-host Ryan Ray. Ryan, we got hurricanes tearing up our friends down in Louisiana. I'm hoping everybody's safe. I heard power was out down south, St. Charles, so hopefully those guys are all right. I know there's been a lot going on down there, but otherwise, how are things going in your world this morning?
Everything is lovely and lovely. And let's talk about our sponsor for the podcast, Josh, which is Novo. You and I both own businesses. I don't even know where you bank at, but you're probably some communist bank. I bank with Novo. You know why? Because during the shutdown last year, I had to open an online business account. And I have Chase and some local bank, and I couldn't get them to get their online to work. So I found Novo, and I've loved it ever since. It's powerful, simple business banking, unlimited free transactions, no minimum balance or transaction fees, ever. It works with Stripe, Shopify, Square, QuickBooks, and much more. You can send invoices, track them, and get paid on your terms. So how do you get this wonderful opportunity? All you gotta do is click on the link in the show notes, and they will get you set up online. It's been fantastic. I've had money wired there. I've sent invoices out, sent checks out. So I've loved banking with Novo. We will link to it in the description below. Be sure to check it out. Oh, I tell you what, you can go to ryanraysenior.com/banking, ryanraysenior.com/banking, and open your account today.
Well, Ryan, mentioning Hurricane Ida. NBC News, there's an article that was out. I'm sure most of us kind of have people that are on the ground somewhere over there, but they have been evacuating employees. Had someone I know that had to park their truck, I believe, in one of the cities around St. Charles, and I don't know if their vehicle's there anymore. So it's been a pretty rough hit, but it seems like it's moved away from the Gulf, moving toward, I think, into Mississippi now. So hopefully those guys are all right on that side as well, the Mississippi. So
did you watch any of it yesterday? Did you have to watch any of the live streams?
I did not, no.
Yeah, it was interesting because it's one of those things. My wife was, like, oh well, I would never want to live in Florida because of this. I forgot how bad hurricanes were, yada yada yada. And I'm like, I want to go down there and do the storm chasing deal. Like, I want to go down there and make sure that and like broadcast live. I think that would be pretty cool. So, are you in for the next hurricane to go down there and live stream it?
Something about weather, man. I've always been kind of fascinated by it. So I'm much more apt to go and chase a hurricane than I am to go chase a snake. So
the snake may bite you.
Yeah,
snake may bite you. I'll take dodging debris in a hurricane any week.
I don't like tornadoes. I wouldn't be a tornado chaser.
See, I think the tornado is actually a little bit safer too because you can see. Okay, at night it's a problem, but during the day you can see it. You kind of move around it, I think. But yeah, so here we go. The next hurricane, we're gonna try to get down there and do a Texas Oil and Gas Podcast live stream on YouTube. we need to do it, man. We need to do it. That'd be great. Just go down for a day or two. But anyways, so hope everyone's okay. It sounds like, from what I've seen, the reports are the damage isn't as bad as they were thinking it was going to be. I don't know if that's true or not. That's just the early reports. Let me phrase it like this: usually, the day after a hurricane, if it's really bad, you're seeing, the reports are like flooding in of how bad it is. I haven't seen that, which leads me to believe it wasn't as bad as they were thinking it might be, which is something to be thankful for, of course. And so, hope if you're a listener down there, you made it out safe. If you had any problems or complications or whatever, and of course, Josh and I can help you out, reach out to us. We'll be sure to pass along your information to folks who can help you out.
Yeah, so Orleans parish without power. Almost 1 million people don't have power right now. Supposedly what I'm seeing here is 1 dead. So it's the power outages that are the main concern, I think, at this point. They're estimating it might be weeks before they get that turned back home, according to the people that live there. So that's kind of the major concern. There's some information that came out. ExxonMobil cut production at its Baton Rouge refinery to 50%. So you have a lot of production that's being taken offline. So we would expect from that to see gas prices begin to rise temporarily. So we should see some of that happening as we speak. I think.
I think what 95% of all the refining activity
is off
down there. Yeah. So hopefully now, and I was trying to see what Anas was reporting on that this morning, how much flooding and how long they think they will be out for. I don't know those answers just quite yet, but I'm sure by the time this podcast comes out tonight, tomorrow, whatever, we'll have a better read on all that. But listen, again, it's people. I don't know if anyone died or not, so hopefully no one died. But a lot of damage and stuff always happens. But it doesn't feel like it's a Harvey. They're saying to be worse than Katrina as far as storm size. It doesn't seem like it's going to have that impact. So, all in all, we might have got unscathed, and we're towards the latter part of hurricane season, and so maybe we're going to get out of this thing relatively unscathed this year.
Yeah. So our good friend David Blackman had a article, Oil Boom 2021, and he talks about a Matt Miley. He's a strategist at Miller's Tabak. I just probably butchered that name. But anyway, Matt thinks that because of some of the moves in the stock market recently, that oil prices are set to go up between 20 and 50% based on averages that he's looked at from past cycles. And David is kind of analyzing some of this and looking at some of the things that might push prices higher. Mm-hmm. So one thing he mentions here, and this is one of the things I just thought was something I'd like to follow. So doubling of the GILTI tax rate, that's the global intangible low taxed income tax on income derived from international business activities. They're planning to double that from 10.5% to 21%.
Communist.
Sorry. Yeah. So that.
Hey, have you seen? Okay, remind me to tell you a story offline. Go ahead.
So this tax. There's another thing he mentions: intangible drilling costs that you can go and you can check this article out. But this doubling of that guilty tax rate, that is, and that is ridiculous. I mean, the idea that the Biden administration and some of the people are reaching out to the Saudis, increase oil production so that they can get the gas prices down, while at the same time doubling this tax. It just seems like, do they understand what they're doing? Or I don't know. I see that. It's crazy to see. So this is going to drive prices up. But David's assessment of this is that these infrastructure bills are two of the very worst ideas that he's seen. But he doesn't think it's going to be enough to stop or even slow the steady boom that's taking place in the U.S. oil throughout 2021. So he doesn't think this is actually going to hamper the oil business. It'll probably just be passed on to the people at the gas pumps to pay that difference. So I thought it was interesting though, seeing some of these taxes that I haven't really followed up on any of this. So this is the first time I've seen that mention of that tax.
Doubling the international. So just I'm going to a quick rant here. Two things. One, we're whining constantly about China outcompeting us in the global market. So what do? We go double the tax rate. That's just genius strategy there. So don't complain. Don't whine to me about China beating us in the global market if you are doubling the tax rate. First thing. The second thing is, this is where I don't know, and I don't want to spend much time on COVID this episode, but last week Delta came out and said that they're going to charge their employees that aren't vaccinated $200 a month. I think that's what it was. Surcharge for their insurance. Here we go after the worst economic year in the history of our lives, potentially the country, the world, whatever. It is brutal. Now we're coming back. We're doubling the tax. We're potentially charging people for not getting vaccinated. All of those things make the economic recovery slower, not faster. We need faster recovery. And so I don't think the oil price is going to go below 50, like we're in danger of that. It seems like we're okay on that. But also, I am a little concerned that demand just is going to struggle to get back, especially coming into winter season. And so I don't know. But the other thing is, we got Jay Young coming on here in a minute to talk about this, but so the gas demand is going to go down. The gasoline demand in the U.S. The driving season is over, so you would expect gasoline demand to drop off here in the next 2 to 3 weeks, maybe a month at the most. And then at that point, you would see, maybe the price soften potentially, of course, the hurricane and all that stuff. So I saw Stu there for Jay. I guess Jay's coming in the back in the green room. That's right, folks. We have a green room here because we are cool like that. So I don't know. I'm not sure, man. Do you think that people are kind of getting back to? I think I get back to normal. Do you think that the economy as a whole is just going to continue to roar, or do you think that we're going to keep kind of starting and stopping?
Well, just from something that's happened with me, I had a huge appointment that was set for today, actually, and the Delta variant caused them to call me and postpone indefinitely. So they're not wanting to move forward for the time being. So that happening. Not only that, but I've also heard from people in other industries, specifically in Texas, that the Delta variant has caused some concerns that are making them kind of pull back. I think investors are a little leery of it. So no, I think it's going to be some start and stopping. I don't think we're near to the place where we're going to just let her rip.
Yeah, that's kind of what I've seen too. So, which is funny because the school that our kids go to, they're heading after us last night. They're acting like COVID doesn't even exist, basically, at this point. There's no talk about taking temperatures or COVID protocol. They're just back to 100%. So I think you are seeing parts of the country getting back. I am curious from the oil field workers out there. We will keep your name 100% off the record if you want. But what are your companies doing? How are you guys handling COVID? Is it back to normal? Or is there a lot of protocols? Are your clients kind of pushing them on you? I'm curious to see that. Now, with that, you can email me, ryan@warroommedia.com. Okay, before we get to our esteemed guest, Jay Young, let's thank our sponsor again, which is Novo. Joshua, I know you own a business, but you don't. Are you at Novo? You're not Novo, are you, man? Yeah, you're at the First Communist Bank of somewhere. Okay, I'm over at Novo because I'm a gangster like that. Unlimited free transactions, no minimum balance or transaction fees ever. You get the bank on your own terms, set aside for your taxes, profits, payroll, and all the other things that come along with being a business owner. You can send invoices, track them, and get paid on your terms. And with that being said, go to RyanRaySenior.com/banking to check it out. With that being said, the man, the myth, the recurring guest himself, Jay Young. Mr. Young.
Oh, hey, man. What's going on?
Hey, good morning, Jay.
Here.
Wow.
Well,
I'm so honored to be in your presence.
Well, you should be. That's good to know.
Hey, how's things going out there in the oil and gas business?
Well, we're just talking about that, Jay. We're just talking about that. Hey, hold on first. What's up with this new scenery here? You used to have the bathroom with your sign on it and all that. What happened?
Well, my buddy Stuart, our buddy Stuart, I should say, is he told me, he said, man, that bathroom doesn't look good in your background. So
okay, hold on.
Oh, look there. Hey.
No, get back in here, Stu. Get back in here, Stu.
Yeah.
But first off, Stu Turley, who's been on this podcast and also host of the Energy Newsbeat podcast. He has on great guests once a month at least. But hold on. Listen, I got a bone to pick with both of you guys. So while you're here, I used to be, Josh, I don't know if you know this. I used to be a regular contributor to the Jay Young Show. Like once a month, they'd bring me on. I'd take wild, crazy takes. They kind of bounce stuff off me. I go on one vacation, and they're like, no more. Cut the
I guess we need to have
So, Stu, I blame you for this. I hold you personally responsible. I will never forgive you for that. So there it is.
I'm going to bail out because this is Jay's show, your show. On the other hand, I'll tell you what, we're going to have you. We even have our new round table, and you would be fantastic on our new round table.
Do you think tomorrow's too early? Or should we tease them a little bit? Tell them we'll kick it down the road 2, 3, 4 weeks and
next week.
All right, next week.
I'm giving you guys a hard time. You do great without me. You do worse with me, but whatever. It's good to get you back, Jay. Okay. Last time you were here, I think you predicted $250 oil by the end of the year. Does that sound right?
No, I think it was by the end of this month.
This month.
It had already $250. You did $250.
It's $249. Right before we got
Oh,
on.
yeah. No, that's close.
So we were just talking about it right before you got on. Gasoline demand, I'm sure, is going to drop because driving season's over. Prices are in a good spot for what we'd like, for where we want them to be at. The economy is kind of choppy, kind of start, stop, depending on what's going on. What do you see going on the next few months? You think we're going to keep on trucking, or will things slow down? What's your read?
I think right now we're having and thanks for having me on, Ryan, always. And Josh, great seeing you again, too. What I really feel like is we're seeing a demand right now that's been pent up, and all of a sudden we're going to have the Delta COVID. So you know what? I mean, oil prices may not hockey stick like I think they should, or I know they will in the future until we get through this Delta. So right now, I mean, we have 95% of the Gulf shut in today. That's 1 million, almost 2 million barrels of oil a day. We only produce 11 or 12. So when we're talking about 2 million shut in, that is really hurting your supply right now. So, it's going to be back and forth with the Delta, the demand going there. But I tell you what, once we get through this Delta and we get through that, you're going to see the demand coming back so strong and us not having the oil that we need. People aren't drilling as freely as you would think with these stronger prices. And with the obvious, it's obvious oil prices are going up. But you know what? There's a lot of companies out there. And I mean, public companies aren't drilling because of, they want to go green, and the board members want everybody to go greener. So they're not going the oil business as much. Your big private equity funds aren't investing like they did before in the oil business. So we're going to have a supply problem the next year, 2 years, 3 years. We're going to have that supply problem before we go to electric cars and we're flying around in airplanes like the Jetsons or something. I mean, before that, we're going to have a shortage and oil prices are going to go nuts. They could go to 250, not by the end of the day today or by tomorrow, but in the next year, 2 years, OPEC feels like it can go to 200. Why wouldn't it? Why wouldn't it?
Well, I think to your point about the start and stop, how long can the start stop go? And I think that's a very touchy geopolitical question. If you look at what's going on globally, that I'm not sure how this thing unfolds. I think that's probably some of the hesitancy that you're seeing in the marketplace. So you mentioned the hurricane, but before we get to that, let's talk about something Josh and I were talking about, which is tax policy for the Biden administration. Now, this is international tax. I don't think you do anything international. Maybe you do. I don't know. But how much does change in tax policy impact producers from their perspective? Like, for a guy like me or Josh, we go to the local CPA. They're like, do this, do that. When the administration starts talking about changing tax policy, you always hear it's going to impact producers. But how much? Like, what are you guys looking at? You waiting for like legal battles to be fought, or can the CPA answer these questions? I don't really know the answers. I'm curious how you guys view that.
Yeah, and we do have a lot of foreign investment, and to come into our funds. So we understand it, and they don't take the write-off exactly like we do, so it's a different scenario. But when you're talking about capital gains, I think a lot of things what people are looking at right now is the capital gains versus your regular tax rate, right? And if Biden says we're not going to do any more tax breaks, or capital gains is going to go away. So instead of paying 15% tax, you're going to pay 40% tax. That means that people are going to hold on to things a lot longer, or they're going to sell them between now and the end of this year. But our deal mostly is for tax purposes, is for the investor and looking for the $50,000 to $100,000 or $200,000 investment, because they get the write-off. You write off the investment in oil and gas, and you always have been able to, and you always will. I'm 95, 98, 99. I mean, I don't think anybody's going to change that, because if that happened, oil prices would go through the roof, because all these public companies that understand the tax breaks and what they do today, man, they're going to go, they're going to quit investing in oil and gas. They'll have rigs will be down to 100 drilling rigs a year instead of 500 like they are right now. And you will see nobody drilling, and oil prices will go up tremendously. Now, I'm not saying the Biden administration understands that. I'm not saying that, and I'm under the Taliban and all the helicopters we're leaving over, the $85 billion we're leaving over there I know it's a different story, but I'm just saying that I don't understand. I don't know if the Biden administration understands that, hey, you know what? If we don't allow these tax breaks, nobody's going to drill, and oil prices will be $300, $400, $500 a barrel. You can't do that. You can't not drill in the United States. We've got to drill wells here. If not, we're going to be burdened by all these people that hate us, and they're going to raise prices so high that it's just not good. So we don't produce enough oil in the United States. We're not energy independent. We've never been energy independent. Where you're talking about, we've produced more oil in the United States than we've consumed. We've never been able to do that. What we have done is we've produced so much oil in the United States that our refineries can't take it all. Different story. We've had to export oil because we've produced more oil than we've needed for our refineries, but we're not going to do it here. So when we don't have it and we don't have the oil, what happens when we get below 14 million barrels? We need a lot of oil from foreign countries. We need 20 million barrels a day. We're producing about 12 million barrels a day. We're producing 12. We need 20. Now, how energy independent is that? When you say we're producing 14 million barrels a day and we need 20, who's doing the math there to say we're energy independent? Politicians? Yeah. Okay, different story. But we need oil, and the more oil we need from all these foreign countries, and our demand goes up 20, 21, 22 million barrels of oil, and we don't have it. And if we don't have it, we have to go to these other foreign countries to get it. And some of them, and if they get together and say, all right, let's raise prices to 75, 85, 95, that's what happens with oil prices. And that's what can happen to oil prices. And when it does, it kills the consumer because you have to pay more at the pump.
Well, Jay, do you think in any way that could be possibly what they're trying to accomplish? So because when that happens, would alternative forms of energy, wouldn't they be able to compete more in that space? So if they can drive the prices of oil up, the price of solar and wind may appear cheaper or more comparable. So do you think that's possible that they're actually trying to do that, or are they too dumb to actually play that sort of a complex game?
You mean the Biden administration?
Yeah, just the politics, the people that are behind all this green push, a lot of the ESG. Do you think it's possible that the goal there is not just to make things cleaner, but to make it more expensive so that alternative forms of energy might be able to thrive more?
Yeah, I think that's what that's going to be a story 2-3 years from now as it plays out during the next election. But the Biden administration, you can't really try to go green, and also the price of oil and gasoline go down. You can't do both of them unless there is enough to overtake it, and there's not. I mean, we don't have the infrastructure of electric cars and all the different things. I mean, only 40% of a barrel of oil is used for the transportation. So, it's only 40%. The other 60% is for all the different things that we have that are not, put for a fuel tank or airplanes or whatever. So we're still going to need at 20 million barrels a day, we're still going to need 12 million barrels a day. If we replace every car and airline and truck on the road and everything, if every one of those went to electric, and I don't know if airplanes can go electric or not. Can they go electric, Ryan? I don't know. But anyway.
No, they can't. The battery's way too much.
Yeah. Anyway, so But anyway, my grandfather and I used to talk about how does an airplane really take off? I mean, how does that centrifugal force really do that? But anyway, so we need oil, and we're going to need oil for a long time. But the Biden administration, oil prices are going to go up because everybody's going to say, we're going to go green. Don't drill. And they had the big, where Shell and Exxon replaced board members with all these different people that say go green. So the more everybody's yelling green, that's great. We do need to go green. I say we go greener. That's a J Young word, right? Greener instead of green, because we'll never go green, period. But we will go greener because we're always gonna need oil, and we're always gonna have a job in the United States by producing oil and gas. And the more oil we don't need from other countries, the better off it is.
One more question for you, Jay. So I don't know if it was last time you were on or the time before that, we talked a little bit about Colorado, and due to some of the restrictions they have, where oil prices were at the time, it wasn't feasible to produce there. So you had some assets that you were kind of not developing at right now. Do you think we're getting close to where that becomes feasible again, or do you think there's two aspects, the price and then the restrictions? So is the price getting to a point where it might become feasible soon to start developing some of those assets? And second, what about the restrictions? I mean, are you going to have to wait for a few years for that to kind of start rolling back as it begins to affect their economy before you can really take advantage of those assets? Or I mean, what's your thoughts right now, like on Colorado in general?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, Josh, and I appreciate that. So our fund that we have out, which is called the King Operating Partners 1 LP, has 4 assets in it. One of them is in Colorado, one's in West Texas, one's in the Mid-Continent basis up in Oklahoma and Panhandle, Texas, and one's in East Texas. So we have 4 assets, and we're raising a $25 million fund. And Colorado is one of those assets. And Colorado is longer term. It is about restrictions. They do not like oil and gas there. And what we're doing is we're complying with the government. We're putting money in to be compliant, and we're putting our permits in to establish oil and gas production. Yes, oil prices need to go higher, but I don't really think feasibility is more about West Texas than it is in Colorado. Colorado, you don't need $40, $50 oil or $30, $40 oil to make sense in Colorado. Those wells are that virgin pressure. There's 100 million barrels of oil there. I mean, there is a ton of oil left in Colorado. So when you're talking about economics, you're talking about, there's 3 things about economics. Number one, how much does it cost you to drill? How much oil is going to come out of the ground and when that oil comes out of the ground? And what's the price of oil? So we may look more at economics. There we're not as worried or concerned about economics as we are about the regulations, and we're always in the counties and the state, meetings and complying with everything they have there. But with economics is more about the 60 locations that we have in West Texas and making sure that we drill 1 out of every 3 locations. We drill 1 well, we skip over 2 locations, and we drill another well and then skip over 2, making sure that is feasible. That's going to be more about how much does it cost to drill and complete a well. We're looking at $2 million. We're looking at 300,000 barrels of oil coming out of the ground. And at $20 a barrel, that makes sense. It's about I would say between a 15 to 17% internal rate of return at 20. So at 60, 80, 100, man, the returns are just, more. So with the drilling of that, now the drilling costs will go up, the higher oil and gas prices go up. If oil and gas prices stay up for another, if they say $60, $70, $80, it'll cost you more money to drill. What happens is the higher oil and gas prices go, the more people get in the oil and gas business. And the more people get in the oil and gas business, well, all of a sudden that pipe that we need, that 9 5/8 pipe that we just called and said, hey, we need, 3,000 feet of it, delivered to our location by next Tuesday at $12 a foot. They all of a sudden go, well, hey man, I've had 3 calls for this pipe. I'm gonna sell it for 13, 14, so the competition in prices because it costs you so much to drill. I'm sorry, Josh, that's a long answer, and I hope I answered your question. If I didn't,
you did.
Back to it.
No, that's great. Okay, Jay, one final question for you here. Why did you not watch Tiger King?
Man, you know what? I mean, and I'll tell you, my wife doesn't want to watch it, and we watch one program together, a night before, and I never have found after Siegfried and Roy, out of Vegas, I just thought, they kind of, when they became, I just don't know. I don't know.
See,
why should I watch it? What is the big deal about this?
Well, I have Carol Baskin coming on Inside the War Room tomorrow, and I was gonna let you give me one question to ask her, but you haven't watched the show, and so you're like the only person in America who hasn't watched Tiger King. So, this. So anyway,
you're putting me on the spot, man. You really
listen. It's the hot seat, big boy. Come on.
I know. And I appreciate you putting me on the spot. I need to be on the spot.
Come on now. All right, Jay. We want to get you on again, obviously, at least one, maybe two more times before the year ends. Any final thoughts that you got the Jay Young Show, obviously King Operating. Where can people find you, connect with you, follow all the stuff you have going on?
I'm on Instagram, JR Young, TX for Texas.com for whatever it is, at JR Young. At just go to kingoperating.com or jryoung.com. And sign up for my newsletter. We've got a great newsletter that we keep you in the know. Well, Stuart does. Stuart keeps us in the know about what's going on in the oil business, and we want you to call. We have our investment funds that we have that we're about a 6% return right now on our drilling fund that we have. We'll get that up to more than 30% next year, and we're looking to scale. So if anybody has an interest in how do you pay less taxes on my money? How can I take advantage of this? And our goal is to increase the value of our fund. And we've got an incredible project that we'd look to liquidate. I can't guarantee it, but we look to liquidate one by the end of next year, which means that'll be a good return back to investors. And we like sending out monthly revenue checks to them because, hey, we like those monthly revenue checks.
Yeah, and Josh, just doing a little math in my head here. We charge $100,000 per episode to sponsor. Jay's been on 7, 8, 9 times, and we ain't published fun. So I don't know how many points that translates into Josh and your boy right here, but we'll just go ahead and just give us some points in the deal, and we'll call it even on that. No, Jay, it's always good to get you on. And hey, listen, real quick, for everyone, I need to thank. I haven't talked to you on the podcast, so let me say this publicly. A few months ago, I had an interview. And I needed a house to borrow up in Dallas because I live in Granbury. And Jay Young, I hit him up like at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night. The next day, opened his house up to me and let me use his house to shoot this interview on a Russian TV network. I don't know if I said it on the podcast or not, but I want to thank you again publicly. You are a good dude, and so people need to know that about you. So thank you again, Jay.
Absolutely. I'm glad to have you over. And man, you were on target that day, man. I was just sitting out there just kind of hanging out, man. You were walking through the house on the phone and man, going out to the pool and looking at everything on the third floor. Man, it was awesome. I'm glad to accommodate you.
All right, Jay, thank you so much.
I would say anytime, but I don't know about that. I don't know.
Don't do that. I got a wife and 4 kids. We'll be over there moving in. So, all right, Jay, thank you, brother.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
All right, and that is once again Mr. Jay Young. He is a good dude. He did let me use his house, and so I really, really appreciated that back in June. Okay, Mr. Josh, any final words before we get out of here today?
One last thing for a roundup. We might follow up with this next week. Just talk about it a little bit more. FTC seeks to crack down on unlawful U.S. oil and gas industry mergers. I'm probably going to be against this. I haven't even had a chance to look over the article, to be honest. But that'd be something to follow up on.
Yeah. Okay, with that being said, let's thank our sponsor again, which is Novo Free Banking Online. They hook you up. It's fantastic. I use it myself. Be sure to use it as well. RyanRaySenior.com/banking, or we will have a link in the show notes. And with that being said, thanks, Jay, Stu, and everyone over there. Until then, keep climbing.